Hello students, today we're going to have an introduction to human development. So we're going to understand what human development is all about. Right, so now let's try to start by defining what human development is. So now what is human development? Human development refers to the process of growth and change that occurs in human being, that is throughout their lifespan from conception to old age, covering physical, cognitive, emotional, and social aspects. So this is what we are actually going to look at. So we found out that at the end of the day, human development is all about that process of growth and change that occurs in human beings that throughout their lifespan. And this change begins from the conception to the old age. And when we talk about human development, we are covering a few areas like physical change, cognitive, emotional, and social aspects. So these are the areas that we focus on when we talk about the issue to do with development and growth. Right, so in this study we're going to learn more about these aspects that I've just highlighted. Right, so we make a progress. What is human development? In simple terms, human development, it is all about how people grow, how people think, how people feel, and interact with others as they move through different stages of life. This is the simplest definition for what? For human development. So it is all about how people think, how people think, how people grow, how people think, how people feel, and how they interact with others. That is, as they move through different stages of life. So that's how we define human development. Now, let's try to look at the academic definition of human development. Now, human development is the scientific study of how and why people change over time in areas such as body structure, thinking ability, emotions, and social relationships. So that's how we can define human development in an academic way. Right, so now at the end of the day, you are going to realize that this human development is all about how people grow, how people think, how people feel, and interact with others. We shall focus also on the body structure, the thinking ability, the emotions, and the social relationships of each and every individual. This is where human development focuses. So now, scholars like Jean Piaget and Erik Erikson, they contributed to understanding how these changes occur across different life stages. Let's look at the differences between growth and development. What do you think are the differences between growth and development? So now we are going to look at the differences between growth and development by considering few aspects, and the first aspect is to do with what? Meaning. So we want to see the difference between growth and development in relation to their meaning. Right, so now what is growth? Like we have already discovered, growth refers to an increase in physical size of the body. That's what we call as growth. While development refers to overall changes in abilities, behavior, and skills. So now you can see in terms of the meaning, this is how growth and development differ. So growth is all about increase in physical size of the body. Then development is all about overall changes in abilities, in behavior, and skills. The second difference is based on this aspect, which is nature. So we want to see the difference between growth and development based on their nature. So how do they differ? So now growth is actually qualitative, meaning it involves numbers and measurements, while development is qualitative, meaning that it involves what? Changes in quality and functioning. You understand that when you are growing, I'm trying to explain on the issue of quantitative, which is all about numbers and measurements. When you are growing, there are things that change. There is that increase in body size that can be measured. Okay, there is that increase in the body weight, right, which can also be measured, right? So this is what this is what I mean. Then when it comes to the issue of development, is all qualitative. That is, we are focusing on changes in quality and functioning. The way you used to behave 5 years ago, this is not the way you behave today, because there is always that improvement in terms of what? Quality and functioning of your entire body system and the way you carry yourself in the society. So development is based on qualitative. It is all about changes in quality, changes in functioning. How you do things today must be different from the way you should do them tomorrow, because of what? That growth, that developmental change that is occurring in you. All right. Another difference is based on measurement. Right. So now, what do we mean when we say measurement? Growth can be easily measured. For example, when somebody grows, there is always increase in height, there is always increase in weight, there is always increase in age. So growth can be easily measured because we can measure these, aspects like or these factors, okay, like height, weight, and age. These are measurable. Okay, we can measure how short, or maybe in short, we can measure your height, we can measure your weight, we can know how old you are by considering how many years of being here on earth, right? So that is growth. Then development cannot always be measured directly, but then it is observed through what? Behavior and performance. That's how we observe development. Development is observed through behavior and performance. I've been talking about the issue of performance. I mean the issue of the behavior. How you perform things today should be different from the way you perform them tomorrow. How you used to do things 10 years, 20 years, or let me just say the time when you were 7 years is different from the way you do the same things now that maybe you are 30 years, you are 40 years, you are 50 years. Right, so now that is what development is all about. So it is observed through behavior and performance. So now the difference between growth and development in relation to measurement is that growth can be easily measured, while development cannot be measured directly. It is observed through behavior and performance. Right, another difference is based on the scope. Now think about the scope. How do growth differ from development in terms of scope? Growth is limited mainly to physical aspects of the body. That's what growth is limited to physical aspect of the body, while development is broad and it includes physical, cognitive, emotional, social, and moral aspects. Right? Another difference is based on duration. Growth occurs for a certain period and then it stops after maturity. What about development? Does it stop at a certain point of time? The answer is no. Development is a continuous process that occurs through life. So the difference between growth and development based on duration is that growth occurs for a certain period and stops after maturity, while development is a continuous process that occurs throughout life. Then another difference is based on dependency. So now growth supports development. Growth supports development, while development depends on growth. but also involves other factors like environment and learning. Right? Another difference is based on outcome. What do I mean? Growth results in increased size and structure. That is on the issue of outcome. What are the results? The results of growth is that there will be always increased size and increased structure. What about development? While development results in improved functioning, improved skills, and improved what? Abilities. So that's the difference in terms of outcomes. Now, in summary, growth is about how big you become. Development is all about how well you function. So that is the summary. Let's now make a summary of the key differences between growth and development. So now we have got aspect, we have got growth, we've got development. So this is just the summary of whatever I've been explaining. Right, so now talking about the differences between growth and development, we have these aspects like the meaning, nature, measurement, scope, and duration. Now talking about meaning, the difference between growth and development in terms of meaning that growth is a physical increase in size, while development is the overall change in abilities. Then talking about nature, growth is quantitative, while development is qualitative. Then talking about measurement as an aspect, growth is measurable. That is, we can measure the height, we can also measure the weight, while development is not always directly measurable. Then scope, the difference between growth and development in terms of the scope is that growth is limited, mainly physical, it's all about the physical body, while development is broad, meaning it focuses on physical, mental, and social aspect of someone's life. Then talking about duration, growth stops after maturity. Then development does not stop. It is a continuous process, so it continues throughout the life. This is where we end. Right. So if at all you've got any question, you can make a follow-up by contacting me on the given number.